Hello and welcome back to Scooter Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard, and hosting with me, full setup, it is Jamison Maxwell and Ty Lee. We got the full squad back in action, all the moves complete. We're rolling, we're rocking, and we're here for a proper Schooner Pod, talking some OU football. We're calling this kind of what we called it last year, the state of the Sooners. We're gonna kind of break down what we might have missed over the summer, major themes, things to look forward to, and I gotta tell you, boys, I'm pumped to get into it. But first, I want to just say, everyone who's been watching our Bye Bye Big 12s, thank you so much for the views. Thanks for watching those. Make sure to hit a subscribe if you like them. If you like the OU content, make sure to hit subscribe on that as well. It's really helping us out. We're very close to 500, which would mean a lot to us. A little bit more than just a clean number. But yeah, it's good stuff. So if you're either listening on the pod or just haven't subscribed on YouTube yet, make sure to give that a shot. So anyways, housekeeping over. Guys, how are you feeling? Ty, I'll start with you. How's it going? He's muted.
Oh no! It's been a while since you podcast, huh, Ty?
The rust.
No, it has. I've been on Teams calls all week though, so this is embarrassing. It's been a while since I've been on the pod. It's unfortunately been a while since I've been able to really dig into OU football stuff. So I might be learning just as much, or maybe more, than the listeners on this episode. But I did read ahead on some stuff. But I'm super, super excited to get back on the pod and get us kicked into gear for the upcoming season, because even though it is still June, it is closing in on us quickly, and hopefully it's going to be a good season.
Absolutely. Jamison?
I would like to come out and say I apologize for my absolutely egregious error in the last podcast, the recruiting, saying Ezekonma's big brother went to Iowa State. This doesn't even make any sense. I just think that I was equating big wide receivers have to go to Iowa State. Obviously, he's from Texas Tech. Obviously, the Emmett Jones connection. And we just talked about it for like 5 minutes, and we didn't say any kind of correction. So my B, trust me, I know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all good. It happens. Also, slight note: we might actually get that running back who, as we're fighting with kid. USC
I'm still not buying it. I'll stand by it. But yes, I understand. There's a lot of people writing articles about we're into the lead, but like you get that with all the time with these visits, Bobby. Like he goes and he's like, oh, now I really like OU, but then like, is he going to go visit USC again? And if he's going to go visit USC, are they going to take back the lead? So like. I'm still, there's so much time. It's June, so I'm just not buying it.
No, you're right. There's plenty of time left. For sure. All right, let's get into the meat of this. So first and foremost, wait, Ty in the private chat. We've mentioned you. You're a doctor now, Jameson, right? We mentioned that in the last pod.
Yeah, you called me that, but yes, it is no different though.
Yeah, he is now. Yeah,
We've been calling him that for a couple of years.
Yeah, sarcastically, but now he actually is a medical doctor. So that's, hey, dude, congrats on that. Obviously, big stuff. So, but anyways, we've gathered here, and the people listening have gathered here to talk and hear about what we have to say. And ironically, a lot of the state of the Sooners in 2023 has nothing to do with the year 2023, because most of the buzz, most of the excitement has been about 2024. And we finally figured out who the Sooners are playing first up in their SEC schedule. So if you follow on YouTube, you probably saw me do a little stream on that, but it's just not that fun talking about schedules if you don't got your boys to talk about with. So let's get into it, Jamison. Massive first schedule, very difficult stuff, but first reactions when you saw it about this time last week, and I don't know, what's first reactions?
My first reaction is they blessed us, honestly, because they allowed us to have an Alabama at home to start off. Alabama and Georgia, I had figured that one where it was going to play Texas and one was going to play Oklahoma. And giving us the home game versus Alabama is going to be really nice, because obviously it's going to be a slap to the face if we had to go straight to Tuscaloosa. 2024 is going to be an interesting year. Obviously, that should be a huge transition year with possible Jackson Arnold as the starting quarterback in his first season as a starter. So,
Second.
Okay. All right, Ty. All right. I guess I can't throw that out.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, baby.
But moral of the story is I'm glad that he can at least have the biggest game of the season at home.
I mean, for sure. It's massive. Ty, what was your first reaction to this?
Yeah, so I am super, super excited. I mean, to the people who we get to play, period, is just right away. We're getting into it. People are going to have their, I wish there was no soft landing. This was not about soft landings. This was about throwing this team into the fire and getting these big games. And it's just the novelty of this schedule. I'm sure, 10 years from now, we're going to think differently. And I'm not saying, we're going to be losing all the time, or we're going to be, but it's not going to be new. It's going to be the norm. But the novelty of this schedule the first year, just Bama coming to Norman, and then just some of the places that we get to go. I mean, away at Auburn, I think Auburn is actually a sneaky good place to play. It's just so overshadowed, but just in between the hedges there, that's so cool. Seeing OU get to play in Death Valley, I mean, that was one of the ones that we talked about when this whole SEC move first got announced. We were like, I hope we get to play at LSU. And I think that's going to be a regular occurrence just because proximity, like we've kind of speculated about. Missouri, who cares? Getting to go to Oxford and throw OU into the Grove, into Vaught Hemingway Stadium, and just experience that atmosphere. It's an attainable drive for OU fans, especially, if you're coming from the Tulsa area for an OU fan, that's a super easy drivable. It's not short, but do it in a day. That's just such a cool environment that we get to experience. South Carolina, Coach Beamer hopefully still there at this point, coming into Oklahoma. I think that's kind of cool because there's still just the novelty to it. And then Tennessee, Tennessee is going to travel really, really well. I think that's going to be slept on. And just in 1 year, having Bama and Tennessee both come to Norman, it's going to be our conference schedule, but the novelty has not worn off. And then, we don't know yet. This might be cold take or bad info, but I don't know yet because, again, I've been very busy. But I do know that we do have a requirement within the SEC now because we're only playing 8 conference games for a Power 5 out of conference. Obviously, that's a giant variance in the skill of your opponent, but generally, at least, you'll have a cool brand. So I don't know who that's going to be for 2024. I don't know if we're carrying over, if you guys know, but
we're going to dive into that later because it was supposed to be Tennessee, but they got nixed from the schedule naturally. So can't play 2 games against Tennessee. That would be not great. So
with Coach Heupel at Tennessee as well.
Yeah, which is massive.
That one, so. The connections, with OU. And last note, I know I've gone on long, but the Bama thing too. The hopeful side of it is maybe Bama's on a decline. I don't think they are, but maybe Bama's on a decline. Even if they drop, lose 2-3 games this next year, and then they're not expected to be great going into 24. I still think that even if Georgia's on an absolute heater, that brand recognition of Bama coming into Norman, I'm not trying to start shit with Georgia fans, but I think that Bama still has the brand recognition. I mean, Georgia's doing it better for now, and maybe Bama's on the way out, but the brand recognition of Bama and coming into Norman is just absolutely undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to break down for sure. And I'll say this with Alabama, that is the biggest brand of college football, bar none. And what Saban has rolling right now, quite possibly the greatest dynasty that has ever really existed in a time frame under a head coach in college football historically. It is unreal what Alabama has done. And to have them coming into Norman, massive, massive, massive deal. And I want to say overall with the schedule, it's interesting how it's progressed throughout the week. When I got on to do Bye Bye TCU with Blake, his first thing was, are you upset that the SEC screwed y'all that bad? And it's funny because I don't see
that's that Big 12 mentality. Yeah. They want the easy button to get there.
I've seen takes from TCU. Well, obviously Blake being like, "Oh, like y'all got screwed. That's a tough schedule." Arkansas. I read an article that they're like, "OU is now the SEC's whipping boy." Arkansas didn't get all the tough matchups like they usually do, and I think OU fans are pumped about this. I think people want the cool environments. They want the smoke, and like you mentioned, Ty, when we first made this move to the SEC, the environments we're talking about, the Grove, Death Valley, even touching on like Auburn a little bit, we kind of got a lot of our top end wish list locations in year one. And I think that's incredibly exciting.
Yeah. I do have to say, right, as an OU fan, you got to be realistic about this. If you're going to say, oh, we're going to lose all these games, we're already losing everything. And we're losing to like goofball teams in the middle of nowhere, right? At least if we lose, we have an excuse now. We go, oh, it's the SEC, it's harder. We can sound like everyone else in the SEC, or we go, oh, it's Bama and Nick Saban. What do you expect? Like, if we go put up a what was our record this is? 6-7. If we go put up 6-7, we can do what all the 6-7 teams like Missouri and everyone else in the SEC does. Be like, oh, it means more. We would beat everyone else, blah, blah, blah. Versus like, we have no excuse if we go 6-7. Obviously, one of those was in our bowl game against Florida State, but we have no excuse if we go 6-7 against Big 12 and ACC opponents. Like, what do you say then? So at least if we're going to keep losing, which maybe, if we don't get a new quarterback and maybe a new head coach, we will. At least we'll have an excuse, which is always nice.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah,
here's my thing about this, Bobby. How you're kind of talking about how some people think that we're like the whipping boy because of the schedule. I'm looking at him like I'm not really getting that vibe. Like, is this really like a super tough SEC schedule? They really screwed us. I'm not really seeing it. It's tough. It's medium, but I wouldn't say like, oh man, they screwed us. Like, look at it. They gave us I think the two hardest opponents out of these two. Tennessee and Alabama, both being the home games. And we get to play Missouri as well. Auburn's been really back and forth in terms of their production as of recently. Do we really think they're going to change that in the 2024 time? I understand. Right. Exactly. Exhibit A. So like the thing is, like here's the thing. Like I understand we didn't get, the Vanderbilts, the Kentucky and Mississippi State kind of teams, but I think they really could have given us a way harder schedule. And anytime you don't have Georgia on your schedule, shouldn't it mean it's not that bad? You're avoiding Georgia.
Yeah. We ducked Georgia, and look, the inverse of the schedule is going to get played either next year or the year after. That's been a part of the SEC's scheduling plan. Every team OU plays is basically the inverse of who Texas plays. OU and Texas don't share a single common opponent other than themselves. So I think
we can throw the pods thing in the trash, right?
Yeah, no, pods are not happening clearly, I think, or at least not right now. They're going to stick with this 8-game thing for a little bit. What I think they're going to do, they'll stick with 8 games and then try to milk ESPN for just that one extra game. Because if ESPN isn't paying more for an extra SEC game, they're not doing it. It's about the money. They're gonna hold out. I think we eventually get to 9, maybe have a pod system or a protected rival system. Who knows with that? But right now, I think the SEC was just like, you know what, we can do whatever we want, and let's just make the schedule whatever we want. Everyone gets to play their rivals. That's what matters. And I think some teams got it better than others. Some teams got it worse than others. They wanted to create an entertaining product. That's why Alabama and Georgia are playing.
The other thing is, this is why we're here. We didn't go to the SEC to play Kentucky or to play Vanderbilt or, frankly, to play Missouri or Arkansas. Personally, the only team that's not on our schedule that I would have liked to have seen, and inconvenient for the fans, I would have liked to have seen Florida because Brand's, his history of matchups, and I think it's a very winnable game for OU. And then I think we will play them fairly regularly, but I would have liked to see A&M, but I understand that didn't work out the way that things are going. But yeah, this is why we are here, and arguably I think we got the better schedule than Texas because it's about eyes on. I mean, we're in the attention economy era now. It's about views. It's about attention. It's about putting up these games. And I think that the trajectory of college football is changing, especially as we move into this consolidation. And again, not trying to make excuses, but I think we're approaching something more similar to the NFL, especially as the SEC and the Big Ten specifically continue to grow. And I'm not trying to demean the other conferences, but I think we're approaching more of an NFL product where there's maybe more recognition on the committee side and more normalization of you're not expected to win every single game. And especially as the playoff expands, that's going to be even more the norm, is like you're not out of contention of anything if you drop a game here or there, especially if it's a pretty significant opponent. I mean, no one is saying like, I don't know I don't necessarily know the NFL divisions, but no one's saying like, the 49ers don't deserve to be in the playoffs because they dropped a regular season game to the Chiefs, and as we continue to move into that product, there's maybe some NFL fans cringing at that comparison. I don't know if they're in the same division or not, but I think there's going to be some normalization of that as well. So I really don't think realistically that anyone can look at this in a negative light, unless you were just against the move in the first place. And I understand that whole regionality of college football, but I will say, at least this year, our farthest, if you're driving, the farthest you have to go is Bama, and that is
or Auburn, technically.
9. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. It's still under 10 hours to get there by car as of right now from Norman as the aiming point. But so it's still regional, I would argue, and especially as we sort of if we maintain a similar schedule. South Carolina is a flyer out there, but LSU very attainable, especially for the diaspora, I guess, of OU fans and alumni. Like if you're in the massive alumni base in Dallas, Houston, especially if you're in Dallas and Houston, LSU is day trippable. It's a little long, but you can do it in a day trip and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to see if this just sort of became the normal home and home. It would be rough, but there would be that recognition that you get in the SEC of, hey, they play, LSU is very roller coaster, but it's the old school SEC West argument of like, they have 2 losses, but they also played LSU, Bama, and Tennessee now becoming very relevant. So,
well, and we're multiplying. We're multiplying our playoff spots from 4 to 12. It's going to be way easier to get in with 2 losses, 3 losses. Alabama was knocking on the door with 2 this year at 4. So I think it's not the end of the world if you take a couple L's in this conference. It's going to be interesting, but Jamison, I don't know. I think it's obviously going to be more difficult. Fans are going to have to get used to taking a couple more lumps, but that's kind of a part of it. We're building this thing up to be SEC ready, and I'm interested to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in terms of like the playoff conversation, I feel like this has been talked ad nauseum, but I kind of want to just hit it again. My thought process from the committee, moving to this 12 team and then seeing this new super league of the SEC, I feel like the bias might be the strongest then. Down the line, maybe they might get tired of seeing all these SEC teams in this 12-team playoff. But right at the beginning, I guarantee you that room is going to be like, strength of schedule. And it's going to be so strong. And I think it's going to be even easier in the early years to get into the playoffs. And that'll give OU just enough time, in my opinion, to get used to the SEC, get their bearings, and hopefully get into their groove whenever the committee stops being a little bit biased towards SEC strength of schedule.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes for sure. I want to do a couple little quick superlatives, I suppose, on the schedule. Jamison, actually, let's go with Ty first. Ty, what game specifically is the best on the schedule? One you're most looking forward to?
So for that, I have to go personally. So I have to go. Well, I will exclude an answer because forever and always, especially now not living in Norman, because I live in Scottsdale, Arizona now. So for me, forever and always, it's probably going to be Red River. That's going to be the most attainable for me to start to get to every year. That's special that's different. That's the exception,
Of course.
because that has the history. So to establish rules, I'm going to have to go with a home game. And I think I might be different from Jamison here because I feel like we're both going to pick home games. But I'm going to go with Tennessee. The Heupel connection, and again, I might be completely missing something here, but I know if we have ever played them in Norman, it has not been more than a handful of times.
We played them our freshman year.
Yeah, I was about to say I have like legitimately.
We did.
Of the stripe the stadium.
We were there.
I was there.
It was the only time they've been in Norman, though. That was the first time.
Okay, so one could be a handful. But yeah, so I'm going to go Tennessee because the Tennessee that we played our freshman year, not the Tennessee of now, they sort of returned to relevance. I think they will at least be that year, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the fans to travel and to see. I cannot believe that I completely forgot that one.
It's okay. We're definitely in off season.
Yeah, because that was when I had a pass and sort of abused it. Could do whatever I want. That game I was on the sideline and in the box and in the press box. I was all over the place. But yeah. Cannot believe I forgot that. But yeah.
Oh, I remember that. That was like our second game as OU students because the first one was I don't know, La Tech or something, and then Tennessee was the first big one. Like tailgating, all that big time stuff. Jamison?
So the one that we're most looking forward to, is that the question, correct?
Yeah, just overall. And we'll get into like
I
like the idea you had of ranking the away locations. I'm all in on that, but let's in terms of game, just in terms of the game.
Yes. Yeah, and this is just most looking forward to. Obviously, being in person, there's a little bit of an extra there, but for me personally, maybe not being able to go to any of them, watching them all on TV, it's got to be Baton Rouge with LSU. I just seen like the atmosphere there and seeing how Oklahoma reacts. And obviously there's a history in terms of, bad blood between the two teams. And obviously the fans don't like each other either. I think that's going to be a really, really exciting game to watch on TV, or if you can get there in person, be an absolute stellar memory.
I mean, absolutely. OU's never played LSU in Death Valley. So it'd be pretty insane. Just looking at videos of, Colin Baton Rouge and all that, like, that atmosphere, especially if it's on a Saturday night, that'd be one for the memory books for sure. Look, it's there. No one said it. Alabama is going to be just an unreal experience. That is going to be
this fruit is rather low on the tree. I shall grab it.
It was hanging there, and it's let's be real. I'm going to be real before I try to be original. Alabama is going to be unreal. That when that schedule came out, we saw Bama was coming to Norman. The first thing, and one of the things they haven't been able to stop thinking about, is that first tailgate, especially if Alabama is like the first SEC game. If you open up with two of the greatest brands in college football, two genuine blue bloods in Norman, it's going to be unreal. And these are two fan bases that I feel like get along really well. They show out. The two teams played a home and home in the early 2000s, 2002 and 2003. Alabama was on probation, not good at all. Eventually ended up hiring a head coach that got fired before he could coach a game because of prostitutes. So that happened in the middle of the home and home. Love to see it. But you know what? Alabama still rolled out, packed the crowd, both home and away. They had this cool thing where when Alabama was on the road, they wore white. When OU was on the road, they wore white in terms of the fans. So that was kind of the
thing. It's like that.
I know.
It's kind of the norm, Bob.
That's kind of the norm. I know. But it's
neat thing.
Neat thing where they wear the uniforms they always do. No, but in terms of the fans, it was cool. And I just think it'll be an unreal experience. I, for one, am that's number one for me. And it's a lame answer, but it's the right answer.
No.
Yeah, let's go ahead and rank the away games, because I feel like that's what everyone's excited about. That's what they want to know. Where can I extend my OU fandom into the SEC? We obviously have Ole Miss, Auburn, LSU, and Missouri as our four options. I think we can definitely come to an agreement that number 4 is Missouri. I think that is
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
easy to say. I understand some people might say proximity. Okay, I get it. But still, that is, you don't want to go to a Missouri football game. Don't spend resources to go OU Missouri unless you're going to go to all 4 of the away games. Now, number 3, I feel like there's an argument here, but I think Auburn might be number 3 in most people's minds, but maybe Ole Miss. See, the thing is, Ole Miss has such great tailgating that, like, you want to see the Grove, but obviously with the hedges and all that stuff. I mean, it's hard to pick. I mean, I'd say Auburn 3, Ole Miss 2, LSU 1. Do you guys agree?
I'm not gonna. So when you're in the stadium at Auburn on a game, can you even see the hedges? Because I don't think you can see them if they're on your side and they're blocked on the other side. So if you're just saying, oh, they have hedges inside the stadium, is the selling point. I don't know. I'm gonna
just a well-known thing.
I'll show my cards.
It's like going to see the Alamo in San Antonio. You're just like, oh, cool, the Alamo.
Exceedingly disappointing. Yeah.
They have an eagle. They have an eagle. The war eagle.
True.
They let them fly around and stuff. That's cool.
I'll show my cards here. I think Ole Miss is 1, but I agree with Missouri at 4. But I think even the fact that we're having the argument, I'll let you guys take it after this, but the fact that we're having the argument where we're saying, like, maybe the Grove, maybe Oxford, maybe Oxford's not that great, right? But game day completely changes. But the fact that we're having an argument where we're saying this might be second from last in our schedule, this is why we made the move, and this speaks to the strength of, because we could have some worse options. We could have, Vanderbilt's in, like, Nashville, isn't it?
Yeah, at least you're in
Nashville. That would be a cool one. That would actually be sick. But
no, it's like Mississippi State is like legitimately like the poverty one to go to.
I don't know. I think Stark Vegas is kind of slept on. Stark Vegas is very much like Stillwater, right? Like, you'd be like, Stillwater, Oklahoma, I don't want to go there. But then you go to a game there and you're like, okay, like, that's actually really neat. It's Indy. It's the Indy college football experience. But yeah, I just wanted to real quick just mention, like, the fact that we're having to say, like, oh, Auburn might be the second to last on our schedule, or Ole Miss might be the second to last. Auburn's the second to last. But the fact that we're having this discussion is just so exciting for OU fans, I think.
Yeah, Auburn's second to last. I think Auburn's 3, but it's a shame that it's 3, because that's going to be a cool location. In terms of getting to it, obviously a little far, but you're close to Atlanta. Not an awful drive from Atlanta to Auburn, Alabama. So not really.
I will say, like, the separation, I'll use my tool here. Sorry, podcasters, but, like, Mizzou is, like, down here, right? So there's 4, and then there's, like, 3, and then 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Like, there's sort of like a tiered. So I would argue that there's sort of like 3 tiers. I don't know. You guys are going to vote for Death Valley for 1. I think it's Ole Miss, but
I don't know about that. I'm still trying to decide in my head, because I think Ole Miss might be 1. It's like that Shark Tale meme you made a couple years ago, where it's like there's whale poo and then there's you.
The Tom Herman meme.
Yeah. Yep. That was classic.
That meme, for those unaware, it's still up on our Instagram. It's dated. Yes. It is definitely dated now, but it's Tom Herman explaining to Les Miles the tiers of the Big 12.
Oh, it's dated.
And those coaches involved are not the only reason it's dated, because there's been some shakeups, but
yeah, for sure. Jamison, who's your 2?
Yeah, I think it's Ole Miss, just for me. I understand the tailgating is it's going to be like the best that we'll go to, but the game atmosphere with a bunch of Louisianans in that stadium and the aggressiveness of being an away fan in the, like, the eye of the freaking tiger, essentially there, it's so intense. And I just love, whenever I travel to away games, I love hostile. I love it whenever that both teams really, really want it, and there's kind of this understood aggression between the two. You see it all the time, OU versus Texas, Red River. But whenever you go in someone's territory, like Ohio State, a lot of the people in Columbus were very nice, but you still kind of had that underlying feeling. Imagine that feeling, but with really, really grumpy, angry people. And that's what LSU is.
So I'm going to go LSU too. I think the environment's going to be unreal all the way to the top, but it's almost too much in a way. Not that I'm going to go. I'm absolutely going to go. I'm going to soak it up. But also, Ole Miss has an advantage of, I think it's going to be intense. I think the tailgating is going to be great. The atmosphere is going to be great. But also, I don't think I'm going to get in a fight at Ole Miss. I think the chances of getting in a fight at LSU are a little bit higher. I don't know. Mainly because I've been with Ole Miss folk, and I don't think they're that bad. I've been with LSU folk. I've heard the stories. I don't know. I would say a little more nervous about LSU, and I think that slightly edges Ole Miss to the top. Is I feel like you can just relax, have a good old time down in Oxford, and enjoy the ball game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree, but obviously Ty has a little bit of bias towards Mississippi, just a little bit.
I don't. And you know what? You never saw this coming. I'm going to change my number one. Because I think
Missouri.
Right, I do want to say, God, no. So I'm going to, I don't want to feel like I'm cheating it or doing my infamous, like, I found a gray area. That always annoys Blake because I always try to go after Blake because he feels like he's going to get a break doing the podcast, and then I throw him into some sort of like super, not technical, but super nitpicky, like legalish argument as to the things he says. But I will say Ole Miss, I still firmly believe is going to be the better fan experience in terms of it. And this is year one, right? Because it might get old. It might get like, okay, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
it'll get a lot of hype, maybe not that amazing. Like, and now, like, I go to the tailgating, like, that's fun-ish the first time, but I'm an away fan. I can't really set up a good tailgate thing. And then I'm in Oxford, Mississippi. The game is not that great of an atmosphere. And then I'm in the middle of nowhere. I can't reach anywhere good, like, attainably. Like, I'm just here. I had to fight for, like, Best Western hotels and stuff. So there is a fair argument for Ole Miss. The novelty might wear off pretty quickly. LSU, though, the reason I'm swapping is because I completely forgot that ever since I heard the news, I have been on this kick, this conspiracy theory, this train of thought that this will be a legitimate, not like, oh, this is a chippy game. OU versus LSU will, I mark my words, it takes time, 10, 15 years for sure. From now, this will be a legitimate, recognized throughout college football rivalry if we continue to play them on a regular basis. And I think the game atmosphere will be better there. I don't think it's that tough of a place to play. Admittedly, it's probably top 5 on our schedule this next year. I think Norman is going to be a tougher place to play than LSU is going to be for some of our games, especially if we have a quarterback that sucks because we don't play that at OU, thankfully. But I really think that LSU, it's going to matter more. Long run, it's going to matter more. The game atmosphere is going to be better. And I do think that both fan bases care. It's there on both sides. Like, OU fans do not like LSU fans. OU doesn't like LSU. LSU fans don't like anyone or get along with anyone. But I just think, like, the proximity is there. The history is there that we've played them, at least in recent times, on what is a semi-regular basis. It's always been high stakes. It's always been high passion. There's been high drama in, all the cases. I just think that there's so much potential. And I think our fan bases, in the worst way, are just going to click. I think that our fan bases are going to find each other on whatever social media is, and they're not going to realize that they're generally exactly the same, and it's going to piss them off. And they're going to click in the way that they just naturally click as enemies, and it's going to be so... OU does not have a natural enemy in the SEC besides LSU. It is so like that.
Of course,
like
not Texas.
But we're bringing Texas with us.
Okay.
But that whole we're blue bloods, but maybe not at the same level like all the time, like that sort of up and down, that chippiness, just the way that our fan bases can sometimes behave themselves online. And we behave much better in person, I think, objectively, not a biased opinion, but OU fans generally, like, no one's saying like OU fans smell like corn dogs or something, even though we do at the most important game of the year.
These are good corn dogs. They don't have Fletcher's in Louisiana.
They don't have Fletcher's corn dogs. But they do have liquor at Walmart's in Louisiana, which does explain a lot.
Valid point. I will say this. I buy it. I am absolutely buying the OU LSU rivalry. Put all my stock into it. They've played 3 times, 2 in Sugar Bowls. One of those Sugar Bowls was the national championship. And then the Peach Bowl, which they killed us.
Yeah, don't talk about the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, there is history there. So first off,
have we ever beat LSU?
Yeah, we beat them in 1950 in the Sugar Bowl. So here's the thing about this. I very specifically remember this from
being a
phrasing
kid and reading about it. LSU has done nothing. Every time we play, has given nothing but grievances to us. In 1950, they spied on us. Apparently, a player, and I shit you not, a picker named Piggy Barnes from LSU was caught spying on practices with a telescope and a camera.
That was high technology back then.
Yes. So we got spied on the first game and won. We lose to them in Louisiana in the national title in 2003. Which has spawned nothing but bad stories. My entire life, hearing people talk about LSU fans like spitting on babies, insulting people in Bourbon Street, like
taking off all of the Oklahoma license plates that were parked.
Exactly. Everybody has an LSU story. If you grew up around here, around that specific period of time, you have an LSU story. People do not like them. 2019 doesn't have a lot of the chicanery and weird stuff that you got from that, but they destroyed us, and that doesn't feel good. So yeah, OU has every reason to despise LSU. I'm buying all the stock into that.
I don't know if the SEC is going to give us enough games to make it a rivalry. I don't know if we're going to play them consistently enough.
You don't think we're going to play them all the time?
I think that they're going to protect the Texas game, but I don't know if they can protect 2 rivals.
And then, LSU has too many rivals to protect OU LSU, but I can see it like every time we end up playing them, it's like we hate them.
LSU is they're that Simpsons meme where it's like we're enemies with like this, and this, and this, and then like it's hard to explain. If you don't get the meme, I'm just going to come.
The only one I was thinking of was
I'll send it to our group after.
And out with his hat.
There's a meme where there's a guy explaining. He's like, "We get along with everyone, but," and then he lists like all sorts of people. And then the person he's talking to goes, "It seems like you don't get along with anyone." And the guy turns around and goes, "You just made an enemy for life." LSU they're like West Virginia levels of like trying to be chippy and hate everyone.
Oh my God.
Except they're actually good enough to turn it into a rivalry. Like West Virginia is like, no one has a rivalry unless you're insane. No one has a rivalry with mosquitoes, right? They annoy you. They're always out to get you. They're always like willing to die to like just cause you a minor inconvenience. That's West Virginia. LSU is like, I don't even know. What's an animal that is actually dangerous to people that people have a rivalry with? Not a tiger. People don't. Tigers
play all 3 tigers.
I feel
I'm telling you, there's people that have
tigers. Tigers are in every zoo. There's a dude in Oklahoma who has his whole living is about how he just has a bunch of tigers. LSU's like they're like deer, right? There's no deer in zoos. Deer can't be captured. That's the thing. They want you to think that they're harmless. Deer, yeah, they take out more people than other animals within the U.S. Deer will dive bomb a car. They don't care. Or they'll just attack someone in person, and they'll start like they punch like this, like someone on like one of those little spinny things.
Like a kangaroo.
So that's what LSU is.
Kangaroo is sneaky dangerous. You wouldn't want to mess with a kangaroo.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Hippos, sneaky dangerous. I think
but nobody's beefing with hippos. No. Nobody's beefing.
I want to go side note
to beef a hippo.
I want to go
That came
side
off.
note just to change the vibes, and I just want this to be out in the public. I am a huge raccoon person, and my TikTok is only raccoon right now.
What?
So I just want to put this out there. My algorithm, I've watched a lot of raccoon videos, so I don't watch too much TikTok either. So I just scroll and it's just constant raccoon.
When you go to the doctor and you tell them your symptoms and then they leave, they're watching just raccoon videos. And then they come back and they're like,
We're starting to lose viewers. Okay,
We're
I'm sorry.
We're
dipping. We got to pivot. So I think we covered a lot, pretty much everything about 2024 SEC. Non-conference. Yeah, we got to figure out a non-conference game. From what I've heard, it's going to be a road game. Not a lot of teams are available. I believe the options are like, because believe it or not, like on a whim, can't figure it out. Options would be, let's say, I believe it's Washington is up there, Northwestern's up there. I think Syracuse is available. I don't know. Army is available, but it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
Yeah, Castiglione's already said it's not happening.
Mm-hmm. And we've already done too much with Army.
Yeah, and we need to do the return.
We played them one time, and we almost lost. So we're like,
we almost lost on Twitch with some guy's foot in the background. Hold on,
I watched that. I watched that via that. That's how I got to see that game.
It was the worst. And then I think we also do have to put a group of 5 in there, but who cares about that? Mm-hmm. Temple and Tulane round out that schedule, I believe. But yeah, I don't know, guys. What do you think we do with this? Because we only have 3 home games in the SEC because of Red River counting as a home game that year. So a little disadvantage there, a little annoying, but it's just kind of a part of it.
We'll figure it out, I'm sure. And it's not going to be a stout opponent. I can tell you that straight up. It's not going to be Washington. I can say that 100 times out of 100. It's not going to be Washington. Northwestern makes sense. It's that would be a pretty nice opponent.
Northwestern at Soldier Field could be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I have to go with Jamison. Washington would be my choice, just no external factors. Such a cool stadium. Like, we've had this entire discussion several times about how we feel about Washington Stadium and everything else, but it's going to be so expensive and challenging to get the team there to begin with on just a pretty minimal return. That would not return a great time slot, I don't think, especially going out to Pacific time, and then the relevance of that game, and then just there's no why are we going, right? Washington's not producing a lot of talent and stuff like that, and so I don't think that makes sense. Northwestern, Chicago area, much more attainable, much more easy logistically to get everyone there. It's going to cost less to get everyone there, so our profit margins are going to be higher, obviously, to look at it that way. And then just recruiting base, and then I mean, that's like the heart of football. This is debatable, but that's like the heart of, maybe not college. No, it's not college, but like the heart of football country when it comes to like the NFL is that Midwest area. And if we can put OU on eyes in Chicago, Central Time, Northwestern, pretty big alumni and fan base, I think you're more competitive for certain time slots. And I just think that would be really cool. And then especially if you could get some sort of novel location for the game as well, like you talked about with Soldier.
I got a note as well. There are other options. I'm just going to read them off. NC State is available. Probably not likely because they play Tennessee and Charlotte.
And again, too far.
A little too far. Duke is available.
Same. It's 5 miles away.
Boston College is available, but they already play at Missouri, so that might be a little spicy. And they also play Michigan State, probably too spicy for them. Duke is interesting because they have Northwestern, Connecticut, Middle Tennessee, and that's not bad. This is interesting. TCU, but they play at Stanford and SMU. Why not? TCU, bring them back. Let's do it.
I would love that. Just for the record.
Blake can't escape. He's like, oh no. We need that. Houston is available, which is weird to call them Power 5. Rutgers plays Akron and at Virginia Tech that year. So yeah, there we go.
I like Northwestern.
Yeah,
I
Northwestern.
like
So
best.
I think if I had to pick most likely, I think maybe everyone's thinking the same way on Northwestern. I would probably put Rice was on there, or Temple. Temple was on there.
Temple is already planned, so we're playing
We're
Temple.
not playing Temple.
We are playing
Mhm.
Temple and Temple and Tulane
Okay.
are absolutely already on the
Yes.
schedule. They're inked.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say those would be my other two likely, just proximity. you can ground transport everyone there, and then you have that. But
I mean, we do need a group
again,
of 5.
I'm out
Rice
of the
would
loop.
work.
I'm out of the loop. A series. We'll play a series with Rice.
Series with Rice. Why does Texas play Rice? Or sorry, why does Rice play Texas?
Why does Oklahoma play Rice? Because
money.
we're gonna lose every other game.
Because we're trying to give some money to an engineering college. That's it.
Is
it.
Boko free? Is there a Hail
Ooh.
Mary for Boko?
Boko, surely.
We would never do it. They're not even on our radar, but God, that would be amazing.
Play a bunch of the guys who all of Lincoln Riley's old recruits who just left to Texas State.
I'd love that, obviously.
So Boko plays. Okay, Boko plays Lamar, UTSA, and they play Arizona State at home, which is wild. And then they play the Sam Houston Bearcats. That is their non-conference.
Arizona State.
That was I already know. That one has to be on the slate. That cannot be left as a
Oh.
wild card. That's going to be on the pick'em slate this year. I know it.
Oh, wait,
It's
hold on.
too meta not to. Also,
This begs the question.
listeners, viewers, just so you know, I will be not reporting live, but I will be reporting from my live experiences from Lincoln Riley coming to Arizona State in September. I'm very excited about that.
I love it.
See Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams absolutely demolish a team that is somehow not being sanctioned right now in spite of just flagrant violations. I guess you can just get away with everything if you suck.
I guess so. I will say, last note on Arizona State, Boko goes to Tempe in 2025. I don't know if you'll still be in Scottsdale by then, what you'll be doing.
I don't want to put this on the record, but I'm not necessarily planning on it.
Yeah, who knows? Well, if you're still
I'm not
there,
trying to leave my company. It's just we have other offices. I'm not
That's true.
100% on.
Well, hey, you should stick around just to watch Texas State play.
Just for that.
I'm only
Just for that.
for this. That's
Come
funny.
back and visit.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a super inaccessible place, so I must live here.
I guess so. I guess next up, so
We promised
Actually-
tailgating.
we promised tailgating. It's in the title. Brent Venables says, and they actually have a board of regents meeting. They actually have a tailgating committee. The university does, to try to figure out how to make tailgating better. Do we think it's actually going to work?
Can you submit
And
comments to that?
I hope so. And
I'll do it right here live.
I'll ask all this. We've talked about tailgating a ton over the years. Let's just say you were named to the tailgating committee. What's your pitch, Jamison?
I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm just not believing that the tailgating committee is some kind of like honorable thing, like honest committee. I think it's just another ploy to try to like get people to stop, whining about this whole Lindsay Street thing. Because, Eddie Radosevich has made a huge movement of everyone just pushing and pushing and pushing and just yelling on Twitter, adding people. I'm sure it is truly a movement what he's doing. And I'm sure they're having to do this for PR. I mean, am I wrong here? So if I'm on that committee, I want to figure out what they're actually thinking before I even go make any pitches.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Am I wrong to think like this? Like, I don't want to be pessimistic on this, but I mean, maybe there might be some small things, but I think that this is obvious that it's done to like appease the fans, but I don't know how much it's actually going to get done. If that makes, I'm just kind of conspiracy here.
So I think you can improve tailgating without adding back Lindsay Street. I don't know if it's possible because I don't know how much you
Fans
want a
will
bunch of
mad.
I don't know I know fans are going to be mad regardless. They shouldn't have built them there. You can't have them party in front of the residential college, I guess. They should
Who cares?
It's stupid. I think they should do it. I think they should absolutely open up Lindsay for free game, fair game, whatever.
Wrong.
It's a residential college. They're
Wrong.
adults. These kids are adults. Stop trying to baby them. Oh, they
Wrong.
can't see any tailgate
It'll
parties.
basically-
Oh, these poor little kids. Come
Wrong.
on.
What's wrong?
Majority of these
wrong
tailgates
about
are
what?
very,
Wrong-
very.
You guys are wrong.
About what?
Lindsay should be abandoned and banned.
Why?
Right? Because all tailgating should be consolidated. RV tailgating, different thing. Those are different people.
Duck pond for
Let
the
them
RV
do
folks.
their thing. You don't want them around everyone else. Different people.
Just insulted everybody within our.
Oh, don't worry. We're gonna insult all the tailgating fans. But no, all tailgating should be consolidated to the grass fields north of both Carpenter, which no one knows, and then Jacobson, which is the visitor center, if anyone is sort of like kind of familiar. So south of Boyd Street, all tailgating, there's just massive grassy areas. I'm not talking North Oval. I'm talking east of the North Oval. And I'm trying to water this
That
for
giant
people who
square.
100%. There's a giant grassy square, completely abandoned, unused. They already shut down Boyd on the strip that fronts Campus Corner. That is shut down just for pedestrian traffic. That entire grassy area is completely unused. This is Ole Miss's secret, and again, why I didn't choose them as number one. The only secret to their tailgating scene is that they just consolidate it really well. If you go to OU, especially if we open, I promise you, opening up Lindsay Street will just make OU's tailgating scene seem worse because we're not going to add that many more new tailgaters. You're just going to spread out the ones that exist. And there's a whole argument about the rental ones and is that true? Whatever. But if we just consolidated all of the tent tailgating to that area, and it would fit there if you just go look at the amount of people tailgating, including all the rental ones, then you would have a seamless flow between Campus Corner and everyone there, all the tailgaters, and then that area around like the field house and everything else where they have food trucks or they have like live music or they'll go set up like whatever, big noon if they're there.
Yeah.
And if you have that seamless flow, it will picture really well on anyone putting it on camera and on broadcast, and it will just immediately make it's that infamous like Disney forced perspective trick where they make the castle look bigger by just forcing you to look at it from certain angles in certain spots. If we just consolidated, which requires not only banishing Lindsay but also banishing some other areas, the area where Bobby or our group would set up, it will ultimately be a better thing. In my opinion, this is my opinion. It's the correct opinion, but.
And I think you can do stuff with the Oval, but that's where you do the rent.
Well, I don't think the North Oval, because that's too far outside. It would look cool, but then it's just like, it's not, the North Oval's not connected to Campus Corner, because it's like kind of running Blackbird, but
it's
connected, but if I'm talking like you're standing in front of Fuzzies and you look at the stadium, you see nothing but a sea of fans until you get to the stadium. If you put tailgating where I described it north of a visitor center and then Carter.
Right. So
I'm not budging on this. Yeah. Pull up the map. Pull up the map.
I'm pulling up the map. Okay. So Ty, the area you're thinking here. So
you gotta, scroll up so you see, because Campus Corner is really that one street.
Right. It's primarily the one right here, Fuzzy's Boyd all the way down. Then you have this area. So my thing is it just might be a little too far from the stadium itself. Because even like where we tailgate, like right over here, you're way closer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad idea.
I think you're focused a lot on Campus Corner, and that's just makes things tough because
Campus Corner is a better game day scene than if you're a visitor.
Yeah, fan. But it's kind of a trek though. Whenever after the game, like to get to Campus Corner, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a cold take.
It's not a cold take. It's not a.
I can say whatever I want to.
That is true. I think if you wanted to open it up on South Oval, that's a great place for the rent tailgates. Like because you can control it.
There's 0% chance that happens. Bobby.
South Oval
they're gonna let you do it on South Oval.
South Oval sucks.
That is the only way they do it
to the stadium.
What do you mean? It's right there.
No,
like
there's not that many entry gates,
right next to like
and you create a bunch of choke points and long walks for people to get around. One of the things about the rentals is that they're close to the more expensive entries and stuff sometimes.
Okay.
Although I guess that's close. I don't know.
Yeah,
that was
the more the expensive entries, those clubs and suites are on the east
other
side.
side.
So I don't know how many people would go on the west, other than if you're just trying to open up more to the south end zone club seats. And the thing is that with the practice field there, it makes entry to the south just easier to go in through the east.
They need to make a committee or something to figure this out.
To figure out the tailgating stuff. If only.
I just don't see the South Oval theory, Bobby. I just think that that's their little baby. I don't think they'd ever give that up.
The South Oval doesn't make sense.
I agree. What I'm saying is I feel like you can open it up, baby South Oval still, if you operate all the setup, all the tear down, take it out of the fans' hands, take it all in the university's hands. I get that you have that row of buildings there, a little tricky. I get that.
Yeah, where on the South Oval are you thinking, Bobby? Like, are they going to be on the sidewalks or in the grass in the middle?
Grass in the middle.
Okay.
Well, you'd have to be on the north side anyways, because there's too much landscaping
little,
and then the pits,
and that stuff.
The pit and then the fountains and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I will say there are issues with it, but also this is a rich people tailgate. This is the bougie tailgate. I feel like you quartered them off, here's your South Oval. It's all nice. And then let the real fans take over this space, right? I'm not.
I don't even know how many spots that you'd have in the middle. I don't know if that would make even a dent in our problem of tailgating.
I'm saying like tailgate from, let's say, Heisman Park all the way down here, where the old, Bud Wilk was, all of that. See what you can do. Like focus that. Focus all of the tailgating energy, all of the wild, rowdy stuff you want. Focus on that. Get the rich people out of here. Move them somewhere else.
I feel like you're biased from our old fraternity tailgates that were on Jenkins and Lindsay.
Partially. I mean, that's a part of it. I just think that provides the most open space. Is this whole little block? Lindsay, or Lindsay all the way up through Brooks.
There's just no way you're going to move people who have club and suite tickets away from the east side tailgates. It's just not going to work. Those are the donors. It's like those are the people making the decisions, and they do not want to be tailgating on the other end of the stadium where they are. It's just not going to work, and it's not going to happen.
No, I mean, I get it. And there's a different, like, here's the thing. If it was a perfect world, we would have better tailgates. O'Connell still would be on, where Headington Hall is, but it's not. I'm just trying to produce ideas that will work. The university ain't going to take them. Mm-hmm. I think these are ideas that are solid, will work. And that's kind of the problem with tailgating is the real change makers, the real people that want to see stuff done and want to see things changed. They're not rich enough. And if they are, they don't care about tailgates, and that's the difference. They're unwilling to sacrifice what is necessary to sacrifice to have a proper college football tailgating. They don't want that. And that's why things won't ever change.
Or they're a sleeper agent who gives all their money to Oklahoma State.
Oh, come on.
And enjoys all the benefits of that.
Hey,
to sabotage OU.
Now, I'll say this. Those folks, at least, like, they have a big parking lot, and they tailgate there. But, like, the donor space on the practice fields, I will say...
send them to the rugby fields.
They did it.
Send them by the RV people.
They used to tailgate on the practice fields, but it would be a disaster, and, that was the case in the 90s. Never good stuff.
Well, the practice field is already used for parking and stuff for the athletics department on game days.
True. Well, who knows? I think we talked about tailgating, though. That counts.
We've had this same day. It comes up like once a year. It's the same ideas, talking points. Yeah, I'm not budging from my north end. I understand it's a walk to the stadium, but have a party district, go to the game district.
You could make it a parade. Everyone walks to the stadium together, and it's a big parade. It's fun.
I mean, the real issue, honestly, is this stadium entry control point situation. And sort of like you could solve a lot, I think, by just pushing out the entry gate to the stadium, so there's more depth once you get in, because there is a level of inaccessibility and sort of choke points, especially if you're coming in on the north side. Like there's a lot of choke points on the corners, especially I don't know. We can get into.
Why don't we just get some herders and yell at people to move as soon as they get in the gates?
Let's get an architect on to sort out how to figure out this damn stadium.
I promise the architecture department in college could not care less about football or athletics as a whole.
For sure.
They are in their building working on projects on game days. And they think everyone's an inconvenience. Yeah.
Of course.
They're there to play school, not football.
They are definitely there to play school. Anything else we've missed over this summer? Obviously, just no one. As noted, nobody wants to talk about softball, but like, congrats to Patty Gasso and the girls. Awesome run, great stuff. No need to comment on Jordy Ball. No real need to comment on Derek LeBlanc. I don't think leaving for UCF.
Sad. It's just a sad story, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to get Ty going on that one. I'm sure he had some takes.
I don't even know who that is.
It was
he is our star defensive lineman who transferred before he even showed up. I mean, he showed up in Norman before he even played a game.
Where did he transfer to?
UCF.
Yeah, because he's from Florida, and it was between us and Florida.
Oh no.
He probably has the one school in the Big 12 that has worse academic standards than OU. Besides Houston,
Texas
if you count,
Tech.
if you count Houston, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech as accredited schools, which they're not, then yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
the only other accredited school that has lower academic entry standards.
Houston and UCF are just big UCO.
They're big, like in-person University of Phoenix. Except you can't actually live on campus because they're only commuter.
Oh no. Okay. We missed a lot of stuff, but we're gonna be back in a rhythm. Conference previews are coming up, boys. We're almost there.
Hey, people are dropping win total predictions. CBS Sports has OU going 9-3, I think, which is absurd. I'm going to slam that under. But
that's another thing I wanted to mention. Brent Venables said that if he gets the defense right, he thinks that we can win 10 games and hang a banner. Jamison, you think this is?
I swear to God, if we win 10 games. Is he saying hang a conference banner, or is he saying hang a 10-win banner?
He didn't.
Whatever.
No.
If he,
I think he meant hang a conference banner. I don't think he meant.
If he means we're going to hang a banner for 10 wins, I do not care what he does. I will never say a positive thing about him ever.
He did not mean that.
That's some Oklahoma State bullshit.
He did not
just throw up an arbitrary we're going to win.
He did not.
If we get our defense right, we could win 10 games.
Yeah,
that's
if we beat 10 people on our schedule, we could win 10 games.
If we outscore everybody, we will probably win the championship.
It's like the Max Verstappen to win the race today. We got to be faster than everyone else quote.
Maybe a bit, but I will say this 2023 schedule is pretty weak. I think it could be done. I think if OU gets rolling, if that defense truly rounds into form, if you get a little bit of some strengthen up some weak points in that portal, I could see it happening. I think that is how bad that schedule is. No Tech, no K-State, no Baylor. 3 teams that beat us last year, don't even see them, and then you replace them with teams who haven't played a Power 5 schedule. Like UCF, Cincinnati, BYU. East Carolina beat BYU in Provo. I don't want to hear about how tough Provo is.
No,
it's not going to be fun.
You should know how bad we are that you're trying to hype up as a positive that we're not playing Texas Tech next year.
I'm saying we don't have any.
We can win some games, dude. We don't even have to play Texas Tech.
I'm not saying we're. Look, I'm not saying we're going to win.
Is this a Boko bid or? Are we
no. I'm not saying we're going to win a national championship. I'm just saying that's an easily navigatable schedule where 10 wins isn't really insane. I'm not saying we'll be world beaters because we don't have to play Texas Tech. I'm just saying that is how easy the schedule is. Even removing the teams like Tech and Baylor helps out a lot. And the defending champ K-State Wildcats.
For another pod.
Oh yeah, we have previews to go. Previews to go. previews to go. So, all right, Jamison, Ty, any final words before we head out?
Nothing.
Sorry we kept you up, Jamison. I know it's like almost 10 o'clock
It
where
is
you're at.
it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a part of our game for our future.
Yeah, that we won't ask you to do 2 pods on back-to-back nights. Hopefully again. But yeah, this has been the podcast, folks. Thank you all so much for listening. If you liked it, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
20 more to 500. Come on, please.
We're almost there. We're almost there to 500. Help us out. Make sure to like the video. If you're listening on the pod, subscribe if you can as well, wherever you get your podcasts. But for me, Jamison and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Have a good one, everyone, and Boomer Sooner.
Okay.
We're still live, too. That's
We're
amazing.
still live. Bobby, instead of ending the broadcast, straight up bounced from this.
Leave button instead of the end broadcast.
No, I'm not going to hit end broadcast. I'm going to make Bobby do it.
I'm going to do it. The leave studio button and the end broadcast button look very similar because they're both red. I got distracted, folks.
They're in complete opposite